Another court case loomed, but after their Champions League exploits, there was a tangible feel-good factor at Elland Road. It seemed that David O'Leary's team was ready to challenge Manchester United and Arsenal for the title, especially after Leeds' win at Arsenal early the next season.
Most of all, I'd like to thank my family and my friends for sticking by me.
In December 2001, Lee Bowyer was cleared of all charges against him. Jonathon Woodgate was given community service after being found guilty of the lesser charge of affray. But the controversy surrounding Bowyer wasn't over. Both players were disciplined by the club for being drunk on the streets of Leeds. While Woodgate accepted a fine, Bowyer refused to pay. He was put on the transfer list.
I have no problem with him personally, but I think that Lee felt let down. But frankly, I felt let down because we'd stood by both Lee and Jonathon. Clearly it had done the club enormous harm, whatever the circumstances, and I thought it was the right thing for the club to do, to be seen, to be saying to the world and to the players that you have to have a code of conduct.
You don't just slap massive fines on players, especially when the players had arrived for training that morning. They'd been told by the manager that it was solidarity and it was all the players against the press because everybody's going to be against us.
I stand by the decisions we took at the time, and I'm very disappointed if it did affect my relationship with Lee Bowyer, but I'm sure that was probably what did.
You ask any fan, and they'll pay the fine if they have to.
Lee came off the list because we then came to an agreement about the fine, and he would have never gone on the list in the first place if we hadn't have had problems in him agreeing to the fine. I was delighted because he was a very good footballer.
Chance for Lee Bowyer on his return! Would you believe that? It's his way. It's perhaps the best way in the circumstances of putting two fingers up to the world. On New Year's Day 2002, new boy Robbie Fowler sealed a 3-0 win against West Ham, which put Leeds top of the Premiership. It seemed all their problems were behind them.
The atmosphere around the club was an atmosphere of you thought you were at the bottom of the league and getting relegated because of the amount of bad publicity that the club was getting. It was horrendous.
We had an air of confidence that we'd get back in the Champions League. In fact, we did a presentation in January to one of our major shareholders when we were top, and they said, where do you expect to finish? And we said, well, we'd be very disappointed if we finished lower than fourth and missed the Champions League. And I remember them saying, there's not a risk of you finishing outside the top four, the only question is which position in the top four. And of course, we then ended up fifth in the league.
If we finished mid-table, you'd have done well and written the season off and got on with it, and then come back, trial over with, clean slate, and let's go on and concentrate from pre-season, getting everybody right, you know, to play.
I just went in this morning and I was told I was sacked. It's as simple as that. The holiday stuff. Okay. See you, lads. Good luck.
Only took about a couple of minutes and said, David, two players have said that their agents have told us that if you're not here, if you're here next season, they won't play well. And I said, well, are agents running this football club again? Or are they running it?
What's going on, Ridsdale? Come on! Speak to the fans!
Every call I got, you know, that whole day was, people just thought it was it. I was getting it from the players, they were on holiday all over the world, and they were starting to hear from various time zones, and you know, managers ring me up and thinking, are we hearing this right?
If you look back, David and I probably had one of the closest relationships, the chairman and manager. We'd been through some wonderful times and some difficult times, and it was probably the most difficult business decision that I've ever had to contribute to in my life.
I said to Peter, could I use his phone? And Peter, being the manners he has, said, do you want me to step out? You presumed I was ringing my wife. I said, I'm not ringing Joy, I want to ring Michael Kenny, my solicitor.
I know David was very upset at the time, but I can assure you I was equally upset because I knew that it was the end of an era, really, and of course so it proved to be.
To me, everything after the court case this is where the damage was seriously done. And then, of course, the book he brought out.
Leeds United on trial, well, after the Bowyer and the Woodgate situation, that's the last thing in the world you want, was a book coming out. And whoever encouraged him to write that deserves locking up for that.
The part that we let ourselves down, and that total responsibility, is the title of the book. That was, we could have controlled that. We never looked at it, never thought about it.
Certainly post the trial and post the book, there was a feeling within the club that the mood had changed.
I don't think any manager who is in a current job should have a newspaper article where they've got to sometimes criticise their own situation. You know, I think they earn enough money as football managers. Like, they don't do things like that, you know. I know David has said he never lost a dressing room, but, you know, people who know the inside knows he did lose a dressing room.
I was a little bit disappointed in the approach, you know, how he approached the players, how he spoke to the players at some point, you know, and I think that's what made the team spirit and the team struggle a little bit. I think, yes, with most of the players not being happy at the club, for him to leave, I think it was better.
It's amazing that people don't say things when you're there in that way, but I definitely thought things needed to be sorted out there for the following season, without a doubt.
What I could never understand in the whole situation was the Eddie Gray situation. You know, he was there, first team coach, everything's flying along, and then why bring Brian Kidd in? And it's no disrespect to Brian, not being wise afterwards. I said, well, the fans will never accept him with his Man United connection.
David was the manager of the club, and he felt that was the correct thing to do. I disagreed with it. I don't think there's any secret in that. I just felt we changed our approach to the game and how we approach games.
I think Eddie might have a point in one part, that, you know, we were playing a more cautious way, and that wasn't the way I wanted to play. And I think Eddie's right in that part.
I was just guessing at numbers and figures.
I just don't know what was going through their mind. You know, to me they were burning, and not just a little bit of money, burning big money.
The financial thing I hadn't got a clue about, because I don't want to play any part in it. I want people to say we either can afford or not afford.
It's a classic case of catch-22. If you don't sign the players, you don't get the Champions League, then you lose that cash. You sign them and stand the chance of getting the Champions League, and the riches, as we'd seen the year before, were there for us to take. What went wrong is we signed the players and didn't get back into the Champions League.
It never rains, but it pours, and my goodness, it is a pouring steroid rain for Leeds, their manager and their chairman.
In most people's eyes, O'Leary was sacked over the proposed sale of Rio Ferdinand. Manchester United were lurking. The board seemed ready to cash in, but the manager wasn't playing ball.
That was nothing to do with dismissal at all.
I've honestly nothing to say on that at the moment. Might have one day, but not at the moment.
We were disappointed given the investment that 2 years running we missed getting back into the Champions League. And David knew that for the level of investment we'd made, that was the way in which he would be judged.
If they wanted to make a change, thought they were wrong completely. But if they wanted to make it, fine. Where I got totally disgusted with them afterwards was the spin and the lack of class, and I think it backfired on them big time. And I knew that I had the fans, and my memories of walking around the pitch the last game of the season, 37,000, and people saying, see it starting next season. I was looking forward to it. I just wonder now, when they think back, those people, would they have done the same thing?